The Super Bowl is officially over. The NFL season is officially over, unfortunately. But welcome back to the Off Script podcast. Once again, my name is Matthew King, and alongside me is Jake Morris. We did take a break from our workday to be able to do this. It's been a crazy couple days. We had a great Super Bowl party going on, tons of good friends here, and just a great game in general. It was a lot of fun, even though the script writers absolutely cooked, and a lot of people are saying that this Super Bowl is rigged. So I don't know how you feel about that, but we talked about it a couple times, but does this solidify that the NFL is rigged?
I mean, I think it's hard to say that the NFL is rigged, but I mean, come on now. Like, the Chiefs were mid, like I don't want to say mid, but like they weren't what we thought they turned out to be, like during the playoffs, and for them to come back and win the Super Bowl and probably arguably one of the toughest playoff runs that like any team's ever had to go through. Yeah, I don't know. It seems a little fishy, especially with Taylor Swift involved and everything like that.
Yeah, especially at the end there. We didn't get a Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce proposal, so I'm sorry to everyone who lost their bets thinking that would happen. That would be too obvious, I think. I think the NFL told them, hey, wait until you get to Cancun, after the season, and then you can propose and post it all over the place, but not at the NFL Super Bowl. So the Chiefs win 25-22. Last week we did have Jake's brother Joe join on, and we had a great episode there, so go check that out. We talked about the 49ers, big 49ers fan. Have you talked to Joe? Is he okay? I need to know an update on him.
So I texted him the night of the game. We were texting a little bit throughout. Like, he wasn't on his phone much. He's usually locked into the game. Texted him before, like, hey, good luck. Like, feeling pretty good about it. Texted him after the game, basically just said, I'm sorry. Like, I don't know what else to say. And he wasn't doing too hot. He said, I'm tired of putting in all my time and effort on Sundays and devoting like actual emotion to this team just to be let down 3 times in the past 12, 13 years.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, so that's like, to my point, I don't know if I would rather make it to the Super Bowl and lose 3 times or just not make it there at all. Like,
That's a good question. That's a good question. I don't know.
I mean, I'm in that situation. Like, my Commanders they've made the playoffs like once or twice in the past in that same time frame, but I don't like, you still made it to the Super Bowl. Like, you still had a phenomenal season, but to be let down 3 times.
I think it's a little bit different with the Niners, though, because they're so stacked everywhere. And they're not losing a ton of guys. They might lose like Chase Young, but they have a quarterback on a rookie contract. Yeah. So I think I'd rather go to the Super Bowl and lose in their situation. But if I was the Rams, like a couple years ago when they won the Super Bowl, if they would have lost, I would rather have not done that in that situation.
Because they sold their souls for
exactly.
that. And if they couldn't have gotten it done. Luckily they did, but yeah, no, he's not doing so hot.
Oh, well, at least, so I have a friend named Max. We were roommates in college for a year, but we've been best friends for like 4 or 5 years. He has actually been to every single 49ers Super Bowl since 2013. So he's been to all 3, and he's seen them lose all 3 times. So at least Joe isn't in that situation, but I think after, and I'm sorry, Max, if you're watching this, he's probably not even going to watch any sports media or anything like that. So I think I'm good to go on this. But Max, if I were you, buddy, I'm never, ever going back to a Super Bowl in my life. Like, you got to experience it 3 times. Yeah, some people don't even get to experience it once. I think I'm going to stay at home and try to fix the juju going on there.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea. I mean, like, once, the first time, like, who knows? Second time, it's like, kind of like 50-50. But third time, Max, please don't ever, for every 49ers fan out there, for my brother, just please stay home next time, please.
And also, every time before the Super Bowl, at least the past 2 times, he always posts a picture there and like with his family and his friend. And he said on the caption, he said 3rd time's a charm. And that was like 3 hours, obviously, before the game. So very rough to look back on. I hope the comments aren't going crazy on there. Probably not. But let's get started with our videos of the week. So I am going to pull up this video. This one has been trending everywhere. This one is the one with Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce. After the Super Bowl, see Travis and Taylor kissing each other, dancing, looking like they're having a fun time. And then you have Jason Kelce, the other brother, who is sitting there just dancing. And what's also funny about this is they are playing a Taylor Swift song. I'm not exactly sure which song that is, but they were playing that. I thought that was interesting. As a performer, would you want to hear your, I guess it's a good thing when you hear your own music at the club, but is it a little bit cringy to kiss your boyfriend during your own song? Like, is that a little weird?
Yeah, I don't know. So the song is "Love Story." I think they put in the caption right there. Yeah, I don't know, but I think the problem is like I saw a lot of clips from them celebrating afterwards, and it was like Taylor Swift was playing every single one of the clips. So it's like, but yeah, I don't know. I think they're just caught up in the moment. I don't even like. I'm sure someone pointed out, "Hey, Taylor, this is your song" or something like that. But it's leaning towards the cringe for me a little bit. Like if we're on like a scale, it's like just tilted the other way.
Yeah, I think the entire thing of Travis Kelce and Taylor, and we've came on here and said we have no problem with it, but the after the games and them videotaping like every single like them kissing and stuff, like that's a moment for them. Like it's a little weird that they have to capture that.
Did you see the tweet the NFL put out? Like I think it was like an hour ago that they put it out. Someone had a microphone close enough to them that when they first saw each other, like it heard everything that they said to each other.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah. That's weird. Yeah. And it was like Travis Kelce saying like, "Thanks for coming across the country, like to see me.
Thanks for traveling halfway across the world. Like, thank you so much for your support." Like, and she was just saying, "You were unbelievable. This was unbelievable." Like, yeah. I don't know. I don't have a problem with it. Like, it's the biggest moment, one of the biggest moments in like.
But it's
his
like
life.
their moment.
Exactly. Like I don't like it. It sucks that the media has to be so involved into it. Yeah. I guess is the problem.
She has to get annoyed, and he does too. I'm sure that they feel some of the same way that we do. Yeah. Here's the second video.
This is funny that I didn't. So I saw your video. I kind of thought I knew what it was, but it's funny that I picked this video then.
So okay, my tradition or our tradition, we don't watch at least try to watch each other's videos so we can live react to it. So I'm gonna play this.
So this is just, it seems to be a recap of what we saw in your video.
So it looks like,
we have,
what's going on here?
Travis up front putting his jacket on Taylor. And we have big old Jason Kelce about to face plant into a push.
He was hammered. Yes. Bro acted like he was on the team. Yeah. I mean, he was just, it's cool to see Jason Kelce as a fan at this point. I don't think he's going to come back to football. I think after being able to go and celebrate his brother and being able to get absolutely trashed, he already has a Super Bowl ring. Like, he got to be on the good side this time. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like that would solidify me. Or he goes and plays for the Chiefs. I have seen that rumor thrown around. But I've seen that they might, at the end of their careers, go and play for the Browns because they're from Cleveland. Yeah. But I think Travis wants to three-peat. And would it be a soft move for Jason Kelce to go to the Chiefs? Because he's a free agent, technically. He's not even under contract.
I don't think so. I mean, like, they've already faced each other. Like, I think if he would have immediately, after they lost to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, if the next year he would have went to the Chiefs, I think that would have been a little soft, if I'm going to be honest. But he wrote out another year with the Eagles, and I just like Travis is in the position to repeat, and so I was going to ask you if you think that maybe he does go out with Jason, if Jason does decide this was his last year. But I don't think there's a chance now that they've just won 2 in a row. They have a chance for a three-peat. I feel like that'd be kind of. They keep looking like they were so big on like their mom getting all the spotlight when they were both in the Super Bowl and stuff like that. Like I feel like them playing for the same team would kind of give them that same opportunity. Yeah. Do they have the same success? Who knows? And who knows if this even comes to fruition.
But where would Jason Kelce even play? Because he's not I mean, he's great, but he's older. He's not starting over Creed Humphrey. So like, would he be willing to be a bench guy or like a swing? Like maybe some guy who can replace Creed Humphrey every other drive or something like that. I don't know. I don't think that it happens, but it would be cool to see them play with each other. And then the last thing before we get into the games, I want to talk about the SpongeBob broadcast. I don't know if you've seen the highlights. We did not watch the SpongeBob broadcast, but that shit looked fucking phenomenal, and it looked better than the actual broadcast of the game.
Yeah. That's so I mentioned it during the game, and you said, "Fuck no, we're not doing it." But I saw a lot of clips, and it was kind of funny. Like
it was hilarious.
Yeah. I think the first clips I saw of it was they were doing all the like big celebrities in the stands that they were showing, and they were like changing their names.
Yes, that shit was fucking hilarious. They took like, I forget who it was, but they changed her into a fish or something like that. And
I'm trying to think of some of the funniest ones I saw.
The game winning call was crazy with Patrick and SpongeBob. I don't know if you saw that, dude. You have to. I can't pop it up because of NFL rules, so we'll get flagged on our YouTube account. But go check out the freaking final play. You can hear freaking Patrick go, "Oh!" It was freaking the most hilarious shit I've ever seen in my life. And with the calls, the worst call in Super Bowl history was Tony Romo's final call on the Chiefs' game-winning touchdown. Your thoughts on that? Because I was completely pissed off on how he did it. I noticed it during the game. And we all know that Tony Romo is a huge Chiefs, lover, I guess, or a huge Chiefs fan, Patrick Mahomes fan. And he just took over the entire moment. A lot of people hate Joe Buck, but one thing Joe Buck does is he lets the moment go. And I think Jim Nantz was trying to let that happen, and Tony Romo just took it over and kept talking about the play, even though he was going to have time after to basically talk about the design and all of that stuff.
Yeah, no, 100%. He, to me, he sounded, from what you're saying, like Patrick Starr, going, oh, like just
Yeah.
Jim Nantz was setting it up to just call it game over, like there it is, and like you just soak it in, like you don't keep talking. Like I felt like he kept rambling on, like he was rambling before the play happened, and then like Jim Nantz called it, and then he just kept like rambling on. It's like no, that was literally one of the only times I feel like in Super Bowl history where it's been an overtime walk-off touchdown to win the game. I mean, brand new with the new rules and everything like that. And it's not one of the times where you just like break down the play that quick. Like you let it soak in. Like they just won the Super Bowl like in a dramatic fashion. So I kind of was disappointed to see that Tony Romo was on the call for the whole game. Like I don't feel like I noticed it that bad throughout the game, but the ending definitely pissed me off a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like when you're an announcer for an NFL game and a game-winning play happens, you need to let it breathe, because I want to hear all the fans go crazy. I want to see the confetti fall. You can also hear some of the players after the game if you let it just settle, and he didn't. And I think that he'll learn from it, but I think that maybe, Tony Romo's been bad for the past couple of years, and there were some moments throughout the game, and I even called it out, where he was really good at talking about like the designs of the play. I miss the Tony Romo that used to call the plays before they happen, or like talk about a specific design that these offensive coordinators are running, and it just feels like at this point, like it's like, oh, Patrick Mahomes is great. Oh, like you can't stop Patrick. Like it's all about him all the time, and it's like, dude, there are other parts of the game other than Patrick Mahomes, but Patrick Mahomes was phenomenal. He did have one mistake in the game. I'm going to ask it again because I asked it before, but now that we've let it settle and he's won his third Super Bowl, is Patrick Mahomes the greatest quarterback of all time right now? Not later. I don't want to hear about, he's on the trajectory. Like if you had to pick a quarterback right now, Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady, who are you picking?
So the way I will answer this question is that I think even before the Super Bowl win, Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback to ever play the quarterback position. For me, is he my GOAT yet? I don't think so. I think for me, I think that achievements and awards and stuff like that play a big part into that for me. But what I will say is I think that he's not only taken over, like I used to say that Aaron Rodgers was the most talented quarterback to ever play the game. I think it's Patrick Mahomes. I think Patrick Mahomes is the best overall. He's clutch. He's talented. He's stacking up the achievements and awards. So I will say he is very close. I'll put a stamp on it. If he wins the Super Bowl next year, he'll be my greatest of all time quarterback.
Well, here's some stats for you. I actually watched the Pardon My Take, and they had a couple stats in there that were pretty wild. So Patrick Mahomes is 1,000% my greatest quarterback of all time. I said this on the TikTok earlier, but just some stats to put into your head about Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes has the most rushing yards for a quarterback in Super Bowl history. He has started 96 games. The Chiefs have only lost 3 of them by 1 or more scores. 50% of the years he's been the quarterback, he has won the Super Bowl. Since 2019, he's 5-1 when trailing by 10 or more points in the playoffs, not in the regular season, in the playoffs. 5-1, first quarterback in NFL history to win a Super Bowl with the highest salary cap ever. So he was the highest percentage of salary cap, and he still won the Super Bowl. That was a thing that was talked about for a while. Can you win with a quarterback with a high cap hit? And he is the only one to do it, because that was a problem for years, and people wondered after you get the contract, can you still win a Super Bowl? And then I'm going to pull this up. These are Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady's stats through their first 96 games. So every single statistic here, Patrick Mahomes is either tied or better than Brady. He has a better completion percentage, yards per attempt, yards per game, touchdowns, interceptions. He's lower on that. Quarterback rating, the quarterback rating isn't even close. Rushing yards, I think that's what puts him over the top, is his ability to get out of the pocket. Now he is tied with Tom Brady with 3 championships, 6 Pro Bowls, and also now it's been corrected, Super Bowl MVPs. He has 3 of them. There is just no way that I cannot put him as my GOAT when he is already on a path to break every single one of Tom Brady's records. He's already better than Brady was at this moment, and he did it with less talent this season. After they traded Tyreek Hill, that is what put Mahomes on a pedestal. I saw a tweet saying, wow, they traded Tyreek Hill and they won back-to-back Super Bowls. If they win 3 in a row, obviously, I think everybody's going to say it, but I'm just going to be the early one to say it now, that he is 1,000% the greatest quarterback that I have seen with my eyes. And if I had to start a franchise right now with one of those quarterbacks, it's undeniably Patrick Mahomes. And then another question is this the greatest Super Bowl run of all time, the Chiefs Super Bowl run? Because by DVOA, it was the hardest path to a Super Bowl of all time.
Yeah, no, I think that's, I think specifically, are we just talking about this year's their Super Bowl run? Yeah, I think, and I said it earlier, I think it's probably, you just said it, statistically, it is the hardest run that any team's ever had to make. And I think speaking to that is that we didn't know what this Chiefs team was about all season long. Even towards the back half of the season, we were not sure that this Chiefs team, I think at one point I was even thinking they were going to be a one and done sort of team.
Yeah, I think everybody thought that.
I think a lot of people had that opinion, and so for them to rip off they start against Miami, one of the most prolific offenses we've seen in the past 2 decades, and then to go to Buffalo, and that was a big topic, was that can Patrick Mahomes actually win on the road? Yep, he just did it. And then to go to the Baltimore Ravens, who have their defense was statistically one of the best of all time, and they also had a very good offense. I don't want to bring that back up for you too much, but those were probably 3 of the toughest teams that any team. It is. I would say it's the 3 toughest opponents, matchups, whatever you want to call it, that any team's ever had to get there. And then we also had a discussion last week that was, if this 49er team has won the Super Bowl, would they be one of the greatest teams of all time? And they didn't win it, but I'd still argue that talent-wise, it's still one of the most talented teams that ever has been put together. So for them to win those 4 games, to win the Super Bowl, I think without a doubt, it's the greatest Super Bowl run of all time.
Yeah, looking back on just their playoff path in general, it felt like every single week they were doubted, and everybody's like, nobody doubts the Chiefs. You're bullshitting, because everybody was doubting the Chiefs this season. And they're all like, the Chiefs even said themselves, we're the underdogs. We like being the underdogs. And everybody's like, who the hell called you an underdog? The sports books called them underdogs. Everybody acts like we all didn't believe that this Chiefs team was not going to make the Super Bowl with the exact run that they had to go through. And I said it before, Patrick Mahomes going on the road was not a big deal, but for him to go and do it and then win the Super Bowl while doing it is just the craziest thing I've ever seen. If San Francisco had to go through Buffalo and through the Ravens, I don't think they would have won both games. And that's just because I think that those defenses were so good all year long, and you saw it with Baltimore and San Francisco. When San Francisco went against a good defense, they always lost. That was the problem, and we'll get into the 49ers here in a moment, and trust me, they will get some shit for what they've done, even though they've made the Super Bowl. But just for the Chiefs to be able to go into Buffalo, go into Baltimore, and then go and win in the Super Bowl I've never seen a team do something like that before. And I mean, Brady has had to go through Peyton Manning, but I've never seen Brady have to go through 3 straight games because Brady was usually the 1 or 2 seed. So I never saw him like go to the wild card, then go, to it was usually just Ben Roethlisberger and Peyton Manning, but he wasn't playing, I don't think, statistically great defenses like the Baltimore Ravens or even Buffalo was a high-rated defense. They were just injured on that side of the football. But yeah, it's just crazy to see what the Chiefs were able to do this season. Do you think they'll three-peat?
I think we have a little bit of a segment coming up later, but yes, they're going to be my Super Bowl prediction for next year.
Wow.
We talked about it. Like, I think you even kind of broke down a little bit about it. Like, this team is not going to get any worse. Like, if anything, they're going to get better. I feel like they're going to go out and make a splash play at wide receiver. I know there's some guys available like T. Higgins and Mike Evans, so I feel like they're going to pursue somebody like that, and that fixes all the problems I feel like we talked about all season long for the Chiefs was that wide receiving core, but they just want to win a Super Bowl with it. So,
well, I do want to talk about Chris Jones because Chris Jones, not on the stat book, I don't think he had a stat or a sack. I mean, on the stat book, but he was other than Patrick Mahomes, I guess, was the player of the game. Every single time that you were watching the defensive side, every single time that you saw Brock Purdy pressured, I feel like it was Chris Jones right in his face. Yeah. And for Chris Jones to be able to play the inside, the outside, like he is one of the best game wreckers we have seen in this past decade. And he maybe is one of the greatest defensive players that we've seen of all time. Maybe not top 3 or whatever, but he is in that top 10 territory of being one of the greatest game wreckers I've ever seen. I mean, it just felt like every single pivotal play, he is the closer. And that's the one thing that I think the Chiefs in general, I think what they need to do is they need to keep Chris Jones. I would personally keep Chris Jones over any big-time wide receiver. Just hopefully Rashee Rice comes into, his own. The other wide receivers were starting to play well down the stretch, and that's what they do. And, watching Marquez Valdez-Scantling have a touchdown, watching who was the other guy? Who scored the game-winning touchdown? I couldn't even name.
Mecole Hardman.
Mecole Hardman, who got traded from the Jets this season. It's just insane. And I think that their top priority needs to be Chris Jones. And I think if these receivers gel together again next season, I think they could go and do it again. But if they do get a high prolific wide receiver like a Mike Evans, T. Higgins, I don't know who the hell's going to stop them at this point.
Yeah.
Now, my last question, because we're asking about greatest, and then we'll break down the game a little bit. Which dynasty was better, the Patriots or the Chiefs? Yes, we are slurping the Chiefs for half this episode, just an FYI.
Yeah.
They deserve the slurp.
Yeah. I don't know. That's a tough one for me. I feel like just because I've seen it all the way through, I'm gonna have to go with the Patriots just because they did get 6 Super Bowls in their dynasty run.
Let's compare it to their first dynasty run when they went back to back.
Okay.
So in the early 2000s.
I think I'm gonna have to go with the Chiefs. I feel like the Chiefs have just been like they've been, and I know the Patriots were the team to beat, but it's like the Chiefs are just the team that nobody can beat. Like especially when it comes to playoff times, like they know how to get there, and they're gonna play. And now we've seen them play 2 different styles of football to get there. Before it was this prolific offense that nobody could stop, and now it's a full team game of a very solid defense this year, and the offense figured it out when they had to. So I think if we're going strictly better, like what team would if they face each other right now, I think I'm taking the Chiefs.
Yeah, I would take the Chiefs 10 out of 10 times. Yeah. I think that they're more talented. One thing that I heard a lot of people say is them play the eras that they played, because it was a little bit harder, I guess, back then. I don't think that's necessarily true at all, because they are different eras. Like, how great would these defenses be back in the 2000s against, these great quarterbacks all over the place throwing the ball 50 times? We don't know how great they would be. And with so much talent, how much faster these players are and how much more athletic they are than they used to be, and all the rule changes that have happened as well to keep the players safe, like how great would those defenses actually play against, a Patrick Mahomes? It'd be a lot tougher. I just think that the Chiefs, I think personally, the outside, it's really hard because, like you said, the Patriots won 6 Super Bowls. But, like, talent-wise and how they're winning these games and always coming back and always, they're never – it was the same for the Patriots, though. You never doubted them with Brady, but with just how they won all their Super Bowls, like, it's just crazy. The only argument here about the Brady and Patrick Mahomes thing that will lure over Patrick Mahomes for the rest of his career is that Brady beat him straight up in the Super Bowl and the AFC title game.
43 years old, he beat him in the Super Bowl.
That's crazy.
I don't know. I would say the last thing that speaks to that is I just feel like obviously the AFC was good back during the Brady era. They had the Manning and Roethlisberger and stuff like that. But I just feel like every team in the AFC right now, like at least the top 7 that make it in the playoffs, like they're all very good teams. Like I feel like the AFC is way more stacked than it was when Brady was on his run with the Patriots. Obviously you had the juggernauts that they felt still played, but like I feel like all 7 teams that made, I mean I guess minus the Browns this year, like we're all like we're arguably, besides like the Niners and I don't know if I want to get too far into that, but the AFC is stacked right now.
Yeah.
Like the AFC is stacked and they've done it, and it's been stacked ever since like the Joe Burrows have come into the league. Like they all have generational quarterbacks at the helm, and they're still have made it to the top 3 times.
That's crazy. That's even crazy to think about. Now with the game itself, just the absolute craziness that happened. At first, we thought it was going to be a really boring game because it was just a defensive masterclass. The 49ers came out absolutely like ready to go. Their defense looked hyped up. And then they had a couple injuries. Dre Greenlaw's injury was the saddest thing I've ever seen happen in the Super Bowl. For him to go and try to celebrate with his teammates and completely tear his Achilles. We all talked about it here. It was probably going to happen either way. He must have had a calf strain or something going on that he didn't tell anybody about, or like it wasn't that big of a deal, and it probably just snapped at some point. So that was really sad. We had the fumble on the punt that completely changed the game. It felt like until that fourth quarter, it was a pretty boring game. But from there on, like it just felt like both offenses were starting to get on a roll, and both defense started. It seemed like they were getting tired at some point. What did you think about the game in general and how it played out?
Yeah, what I will the Dre Greenlaw thing just absolutely sucked, and I think that was actually a much bigger blow to, and it might have not shown it like before the end of the game, but I think that was a much bigger blow and something that like not a lot of people have really thought about. But Dre Greenlaw is arguably probably the third best player on their defense behind Fred Warner and Nick Bosa.
Yeah.
Like dude is all over the place. He's covers the field just as well as Fred Warner does. Fred Warner is probably just a little bit better in the pass game than him. But that was very sad to see, and it was only like the second quarter at that point. Like it was very early on in the game. What I thought was that, and I think this leans into one of the other questions that you have later, but I just felt like the 49ers were honestly dominating in the early of the first half. But
they were a much better team.
They were offensively, defensively, they were moving the ball. Like Chris McCaffrey fumbled it when they were looking like they were going to go score a touchdown. They were making just these little mistakes, and then to my point was that it just felt like they were dominating, but they were barely beating them on the scoreboard. And I just felt like that was, and I think we all said at the beginning of the game, you can't let the Chiefs hang around, because then it's what happened is exactly what everyone expects to happen. Is you let them hang around long enough, they figure out a way to win the game. So I would say that was kind of my feeling early on in the game. But otherwise, yeah, kind of a boring game to start. But then I just felt like that the end of that game kind of made up for the rest of it. Like
it turned into a classic Super Bowl.
I walked away feeling like that was one of the best Super Bowls I've watched, at least in the past 10 years.
Yeah.
Like, so,
both times that they've played have been great Super Bowls. I feel like it was boring at first in the other one too. Then you had the Chiefs come all the way back. Like it. And that's got to hurt for the 49ers fans. I feel so bad for them because they were 100% the better team. And the better team sometimes doesn't win. Like after the game, I almost cried because Chris Jones said the Baltimore Ravens were the best team in the NFL. And I was like, God damn it. Like, why did this have to happen? Like, and it just sucks for all these great teams and all these great quarterbacks who finally have a chance to get a Super Bowl because it's a down year for the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes ruins the shit every freaking time. And it's so irritating, but at the same time, like I said about the slurping, like for him to have a down year. But anyway, about the game, like I just cannot believe that the 49ers had the stupidest shit happen for the Chiefs to win. And that's why it makes it feel like it's just destiny at this point. Like the fumble, like hitting someone on the leg, like barely. Like if that doesn't happen, the Chiefs don't score in one play. The defense was hot, and then you start, losing confidence a little bit. Like, here we go again. Like, just the stupid stuff like that. The CMC fumble, he doesn't fumble all the time. It didn't turn into anything, but when you get turnovers, like it helps the defense in general feel more confident to go out in that first drive, get absolutely killed, and then to get a fumble, even though you don't get any points out of it, the defense is like, okay, we're going to settle in. We're going to figure it out. And it just just the turnovers in general, like just completely changed the game. And the Niners, for them not to capitalize when they were in the red zone multiple times is what kills you, because they should have beat them by 20 plus points. Like I did not see, except for defensively, how the Chiefs were a better team in any aspect of that game. Because if you would show me the stat book and what was going on, like Mahomes threw a pick, like CMC got the ball 30 plus times, like, and a lot of people are shitting on Kyle Shanahan for that for some reason. Don't know why. He touched the ball a shit ton. He did exactly what he was supposed to do, and now Kyle Shanahan's getting shit saying the play calling was ass. Listen, that overtime, he gave the ball to McCaffrey, it felt like every single down. He gave the ball to McCaffrey on third down to pick up a first down. He didn't get it. So, like, he did what he was supposed to do. Early in the game, it was a little bit different. Brock Purdy was throwing the ball a lot, but they figured it out. And then when Brock Purdy was throwing the ball, he was dumping it off to CMC. And CMC ended up having a great game. I don't know what the Niners could have done differently, because if they were to run it back, I would go back with the same game plan. Just don't turn the ball over, which completely sucks. One player that did not play well early in the game, but started to turn it on, you were saying it the whole time. You were sitting here saying, do not get that motherfucker involved, was Travis Kelce. And he started getting hot at the end of the game, made a good impact on the game if you watch it, if you're not a stat book watcher. He was important in that final quarter and in overtime for the Chiefs. Did Travis Kelce, after the game, become the most unlikable player in the NFL?
Yeah, I guess I kind of even forgot about that. The him talking at the end.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you see Taylor Swift give the cringed look? Like people were saying she had the ick.
Yeah, I saw. Okay, yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I think that's just kind of played out for me. Like he's done that now, like 3 playoffs in a row now. Like gotta fight for your right. Like it was kind of funny the first time. The second time it was like, okay, yeah, it's still there, but then this time, I don't know. But I think he's up there for me. But what I will say is I actually do you actually have a hate for him now? Like with Patrick Mahomes, I feel like I don't have a hate. He's kind of annoying, but it was like Tom Brady Yeah. But now with Travis Kelce, it's like yap. Well, yours is a little bit more personal, especially after what he did to Justin Tucker.
A little bit.
But what I will say is that my nephew is a Chiefs fan. And I messaged him saying, congrats, you guys are officially Dynasty. And I said, I officially hate you guys now. So I think I just kind of have developed this hatred for the entire team. And because Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes are at the top of that, like they're the leaders, the faces of the team, I just kind of have developed that. And I felt the same way about Brady and the Patriots. And I guess I just fall into the common theme of you hate greatness. But towards the end of Brady's career, I started to enjoy watching him and stuff because you only witness it every now and then. But as of right now, I hate the Chiefs team.
Yeah, I hate the Chiefs in general. But what I hate about Travis Kelce the most is a lot of people are talking about it is what he did to Andy Reid early in the game. He lost his cool. I know a lot of players do that, but for him to do it in a Super Bowl moment where you are a veteran who's been there now 4 times and you go up to your coach and then apparently he had to apologize to everybody, that can completely change a game, because when you lose a leader like that, people start to follow suit, and it just feels like he's trying to prove a point or something. I hate to bring up Taylor Swift, but it feels like he's trying to prove a point to her or to something or to show out, or he feels the pressure to get the ball. I don't know. It's the fact that Travis Kelce just makes it so hard to root for him now, because he was so much fun early on. And now it's just ever since he started getting the commercials and the bigger fame this season, and the podcast, it just feels like he's a little bit more douchey in my mind. Not confident. It's just douchey. It's just do you really have to like go up there and scream into the mic the same shit that you do every single time? Do you really have to, shit on other players on your podcast like you did with Justin Tucker? Like it's just a little shit that pisses me off. He's becoming I like Patrick Mahomes way more than I like Travis Kelce at this point. And it's not even because of the Taylor Swift saga, because I could care less about it. It just feels like that he's more of a movie star or a commercial star or whatever now, instead of just being the gritty football player that he used to be.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see that. And what I'll speak to is I'm always more of a fan that he's more just the football guy. Like he's not a huge personality. Like he got a little bit of personality to him, but yeah, I feel like he's just kind of stepped out of that like by far. Can you blame him? Like he's dating the biggest pop star in the world, like has all these commercials and stuff. So I guess it comes with that. But no, I would definitely say like I used to be a big fan of Travis Kelce, like even when they were still winning and all. But now maybe it's just a hatred for the whole team and then being a dynasty. But he's definitely stepped out of that zone of just being the gritty football guy, like you said, and it's kind of annoying to see.
Yeah, for sure. And he's a lot of fun to watch, but it just at some point, dude, like let's tone it down like a little bit. Like it just and I feel like the NFL players are starting to see it as well. But the defensive side of the football for the Chiefs, and then we'll talk about the 49ers. The Chiefs' defensive performance was freaking phenomenal. At first, it looked like they were a little bit shaky, but Steve Spagnuolo, he is a mastermind. And I don't know how he's not getting coaching opportunities, but what did the Chiefs do well defensively in your mind that changed the entire outcome of this game?
What I will say was the biggest difference in why they ended up being in the situation to win the game was because Spags had an absolute masterclass of third down calls.
Yes.
Like there were so many moments and like just like pivotal moments in the game of third downs where he called up the perfect blitz or the perfect pressure just in general and didn't let Purdy get a chance to do absolutely anything. And those ended up being the key moments. That I think the one was when they held him to a field goal and they were in the red zone. He called a play and had somebody in his face and like felt like half a second. And Purdy he tried to throw it up to maybe Jawan Jennings or something.
It's always Jawan Jennings.
Right, it is. It's on third down. So what am I saying? But he once again in the biggest moments, Spags came out and called an absolute masterclass of a game. At least when it comes to third down. Because it felt like at least in the beginning of the game, like the 49ers were moving the ball a little bit.
Yeah.
But still they called CMC to fumble the ball, and I think they said it was like the first time in like over 1,000 carries. It was a lot of carries that it's been since he's fumbled the football. But like it just seems like they always come up and make those moments. The players do, and then Spags calls the perfect plays in the biggest moments. So
yeah, so we'll talk about this in a second about Spags and his being a head coach in the NFL. But like you said, the third down calls, being able to limit Christian McCaffrey as much as they could. Like Christian McCaffrey got the ball, I think 22 times for maybe 100 yards. I think it was something along those lines. But for him to limit McCaffrey as much as he could and force Brock Purdy to throw the ball, at least I think he threw the ball 38, 40 times. That was the game plan going in, and it worked to perfection. Now, Christian McCaffrey did get his, but how you've seen with the other, I think he kind of copied what the Ravens did against the 49ers the first time, is he limited Christian McCaffrey early. Now, he did get his late, but it was after the Chiefs took the lead. So it just feels like him stopping McCaffrey early and then forcing Brock Purdy into a lot of throwing situations, long third downs, like that changed the complete outcome of the game because it felt like the 49ers were in a 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10 the entire game, and it just makes it so much easier. And then Trent McDuffie, they were running a lot of man. I felt like, I could be wrong about that, but it felt like they were running a lot of man-to-man coverages. And for Trent McDuffie and who's the other corner? L'Jarius Sneed, who's a free agent as well. I mean, those two guys, that's the best tandem in the game. And he relied on those two all-pro corners, in my opinion, those two all-pro corners to do their job against two of the best wide receivers in football, and they did their job. And that's what changed the entire game. And I think that Brock Purdy might struggle with a man-to-man concept with physical corners, just because it's harder for these, especially like Ayuk. He's not as physical. I'm surprised that Debo did not get the ball more because of how physical he is. But I just feel like Spags being able to bring the blitz at the right time. He was doing some different defensive coverages, and then bringing Trent McDuffie in to on that third down play on third whatever, where it was sealed the game if the 49ers picked up the first down. They brought Trent McDuffie around, and it was just freaking incredible to see him be able to move the whole entire defensive line and offensive line one way and then bring McDuffie the other way. Like, I just couldn't believe that he did that. And for him to knock it down, like, it was shit like that. Confusing Brock Purdy, a young quarterback. Like, it just felt like the lights were too bright for Brock Purdy. But with Steve Spagnuolo, does Steve Spagnuolo deserve another opportunity as a head coach in the NFL?
I mean, I think the fact that we're still having this conversation is kind of like even more wild.
How are they not getting poached everywhere?
Yeah, I don't get it. I mean, I guess I get the off like Matt Nagy, because you like
I get the Matt Nagy.
I get that one for sure. But Spags, like, he's been on this team. Has he been on it for all three of the Super Bowls?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Or maybe, I
definitely.
think so.
I mean, obviously the last two.
Yeah.
And just it's maybe statistically, like throughout the season, they don't have like the greatest defense. I mean, this year they had a very solid defense.
Yeah, usually it's not like that. Usually it's not top two like it was.
Yeah, but come playoff time, they're playing fucking just with the best of them. Like, and the biggest thing for me is that it's always in the biggest moments where he has the perfect play and his defense is stepping up to make the plays. And so that 100% in my mind speaks to Steve Spagnuolo and the type of coach that he is. And with like all of this turnover that we just had in the NFL at head coaching positions, it's just crazy. I didn't even hear him get an interview.
He did not get an interview.
I didn't even hear him get a single interview. So that's insane to me. I don't know what that is, because you can't even have the argument that Andy Reid is just like overshadowing him, like what we have with Eric Bieniemy and stuff like that. So, because I just obviously Andy Reid's a great head coach, but I don't think Andy Reid is going to have his hand that much in the defensive play calling and stuff like that. Obviously, the offense is a different story, but Andy Reid is known for being an offensive coach. So no, I think 1,000% he deserves another chance at being a head coach again.
Well, I think the problem is that people are looking back on Steve Spagnuolo and his time with the St. Louis Rams at the time, and he only won like 10 games or something like that. He went into I want you to go back and look at that St. Louis Rams roster and what he came into. He could not do anything with the St. Louis Rams at all. I mean, the roster wasn't there. The ownership wasn't great. Like, everything just felt like he was going into a shitty situation. But that was also, I think, 10 years ago. So at this point, like, I get it with Matt Nagy. He was just a head coach like 4 or 5 years ago. But with Steve Spagnuolo, to take 2 or 3 teams to a Super Bowl and to absolutely dominate in almost all of them, except for the Tampa Bay one, but also the offense did not show up, so it didn't really help. But for him not to even get an interview is the craziest thing that I've seen, and I don't understand why the Chiefs are not getting poached on even assistants, on their coordinators, except for Eric Bieniemy, which he left for another offensive coordinator opportunity. He did not leave for a head coaching opportunity. He left to get out of Andy Reid's, I guess, wing, just to prove that he could do it somewhere else. But like with Steve Spagnuolo, like you attested to, he does not have that guy. He completely runs the defense. Andy Reid is not a defensive coach. So he's basically the head coach of the defense. And you're telling me that he couldn't be a head coach somewhere else and be the defensive coordinator as well? Because when you hire him, you're not only getting a head coach, you are getting a defensive coordinator. And as long as he hires a good offensive coordinator, he will be a good head coach. So I'm not understanding it, and I wonder if the Chiefs will ever get poached at this point. Like, I felt like New England got poached all the time with Josh McDaniels and all of those guys, but it never feels like the Chiefs ever lose anybody, and they just keep winning. So I don't really understand what teams are thinking, but it just kind of confuses me. But before we get to the 49ers, I want to take a break real quick and talk about this. A little game that we have here. When the NFL is over, rank these sports to watch 3 to 1. So NBA, MLB, and NHL.
I'm going to go at number 3. I'm putting the NBA. Especially regular season, I'll watch a little bit of it when it comes to playoff time, but otherwise it's not exciting until the last minute.
Awful product.
If the game's close. Number 2, going MLB. It's a little bit slower for me. That's the only reason it's there. I've gotten into it a lot more, but at number 1, I'm going NHL.
NHL. I don't watch a lot of NHL. I just can't get into it. I went to an NHL game last season with the Capitals, and it's just weird to me how their intermissions work. I don't know if you know this or not, but they have 2 halftimes essentially, and those halftimes are super long. They're like 20 minutes a piece, and it just makes the game feel like forever, even though it might not be on TV. But for me, it just feels like it takes 10 years to get to the next one. So this one's tough. I'm going to go 3 NHL just because I personally don't watch it. 2 NBA, and number 1, I'll go the MLB, especially with the Orioles. I think if the Orioles weren't going to be as good as they're going to be this season, I might flip-flop it, but when they're good, like, I'm way more interested. And I wish we could talk more about baseball because Corbin Burns, that boy's going to be good. So I'm really excited for baseball season this season. Now moving into the 49ers. When did you know the 49ers were going to choke this game away? Because it was inevitable. We knew it.
Yeah.
We knew
it.
it.
I said early on that, and I said it earlier, that it felt like the 49ers were dominating, but they were barely leading on the scoreboard. And I just always have that feeling, especially, when it's the Chiefs or the opposing team, I just feel like it's always going to happen. But the one moment I can point it to is that muff punt. I mean, that was just not good game. I think the guy was a rookie, so like you got to give him a break. But like, if they don't have that happen, like the Chiefs scored on the very next play, on their very first play, changed the momentum of the entire game. Like you were saying earlier, it just takes the wind out of the sails of your defense, who would just like stop their offense, made them punt the ball, and then to give it right back to them, like those guys weren't ready to be back out there, and then for them to score on the very first play, that just takes the momentum and the confidence straight away from your team. So
yeah, I feel like I knew it when, like you said, when the Niners did not take advantage in the red zone and they were kicking field goals. And shout out to Jake Moody too, because he played his ass off. Other than that blocked field goal, which is not his fault, he completely showed up in a big game. And I see a lot of people saying like he was sitting on the sidelines like you're nervous when he goes out there. Like, not anymore. Like, you kick on the biggest stage, and he did have the longest field goal in Super Bowl history for about 5 minutes. So that was wild too. I cannot believe that the longest field goal in NFL Super Bowl history at that point was 55 yards. That just feels like, I felt like somebody kicked a 59-yarder in the Super Bowl at some point. Like,
I was very flabbergasted when that popped up. I felt like there had to have been like a game-winning field goal that was like in the 58 to 59-yard range. Like, I feel like I've seen it, but apparently not.
It must be the Mandela effect.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Something crazy. But I knew that they were going to blow it when they... It's tough because the muff punt's good. But for me personally, like when they went up 10 points, it just didn't feel like there was any confidence there. And then when the Chiefs went and scored that touchdown, like I knew probably they were going to go lose after the muff punt. So I'm probably on the same part as you. Like, I just cannot believe that an unlucky situation completely flipped the momentum of the game, and it just completely sucks. But another question with choking, is Kyle Shanahan the biggest choker in NFL history?
I mean, what is he at now? He's at
0-3 in Super Bowls.
Yep.
He had 10-point leads in all 3 of them, and including the Atlanta Falcons Super Bowl where he had a 25-point lead in the third quarter.
Yeah. So if we're looking at like stat sheets here, I don't know of anyone else that I can think of anyone else that has had that sort of scenario, and you end up losing every single one of those games. So I guess I'm gonna have to say yes. I'm gonna have to say Kyle Shanahan
NFL history
is the biggest choker in NFL history, because I just can't think of another guy that's been in that big of a moment and you just let all 3 of those games end up as an L for you. Like,
yeah, I don't know who else I put there. I don't think it's necessarily Kyle Shanahan's fault for their loss. The Atlanta Super Bowl, it was 1,000% on him for throwing the ball with Matt Ryan. When you go to the 49ers and the Chiefs the first time that they met, it was kind of his fault because he was throwing the ball with Jimmy G instead of running the football. But I felt like he learned this third time, like I said earlier. I felt like he ran the ball well. He was, early it was a little sketchy, but then he figured it out. He did what he was supposed to do. I just feel like he's limited at the quarterback position, and he always has, except for the MVP season from Matt Ryan, who is a fringe Hall of Fame quarterback. Fringe. He probably won't make it, but that was the best quarterback that Kyle Shanahan has ever had under center. So it's kind of hard to imagine if it's Kyle Shanahan's fault when he doesn't have an elite quarterback. And I gave an apology to Brock Purdy last week, and I'm retracting it. I was right the first time around, so I flip-flopped 3 times now. But I'm going to stick to it because now that we've gotten the full season and the Super Bowl out of Brock Purdy, he is a good quarterback, not great. Not a quarterback that is going to elevate you to the next level. So do you think that the 49ers should go after a quarterback in free agency or in the draft this season?
I'm going to say no. I mean, it's Brock Purdy just led you to the Super Bowl and knew if it's
Did he lead you?
Who else? I would say yes. I mean, if he's the quarterback of your team, he led you to the Super Bowl. There were games that he maybe have lost for them, but there were other games where he was the reason they won the game. And yes, that's because they have a supporting cast that is so damn good. But you still need a guy that can do it, that can put the ball in their hands. Let
me ask you something. Mm-hmm. If Sam Darnold was the starter of the 49ers, would they be in the Super Bowl?
I don't think so. And that's hard to tell because we didn't get to see Sam Darnold. But like I've said, I've preached all season long, like Brock Purdy is exactly what that team needs. I stand on it that if they had, and this might get me fried for saying this, but if they had an elite quarterback, I don't know if they're as good as they are. Because
I know you've said that before, and I get it, because you need someone who can run the offense.
You need a game manager. I'm not disagreeing that he's not a game manager.
Well, let me think of some quarterbacks. So Kirk Cousins, you put Kirk Cousins in that 49ers offense, he doesn't elevate them more than Brock Purdy.
I think Kirk Cousins is like an advanced version of Brock Purdy, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, so should they
But also at the same, like Brock Purdy is not known for being a scrambler, but I think he can make a little bit more plays than Kirk Cousins can with his legs. So that's kind of where I'm iffy about that one. But I think they would be a better team with them. But it doesn't, like, if they're facing any other, like, I think they have, if I'm going to be honest, a better chance of beating the Ravens in the Super Bowl than the Chiefs. Like, the Chiefs are just, they are the team of destiny right now. It's like the Chiefs always figure it out. It always goes their way. Like, and I kind of stand on it that without that muff punt, like, the 49ers are the winner of that game. But it seems like it always goes the Chiefs' way when it needs to. And that's, I don't know if you call them lucky or if it's just like that's just the way that the ball rolls that day.
So I don't think so. I hate doing this because I said to myself that I would not do this, and I still will not do it. But in a hypothetical situation, since you brought it up, if the Ravens made the Super Bowl, they were winning that Super Bowl. And the reason is because of the Chiefs run a really good defense, and they ran the same thing that the Ravens did the first time around, and the 49ers and Brock Purdy himself could not figure it out because of the confusion on the defensive line and the different blitzes and the physical corners, all of that the Ravens have. So I think that if they hypothetically played each other again, I think the Ravens would have just ran the same exact thing they did the first time. But I think that's part of the problem, right? Is that Brock Purdy being a game manager when you needed him. So when you needed him to elevate you in that last drive, they decided to go to Christian McCaffrey. They did not decide to go with Brock Purdy, which they should have. But if you had a quarterback where you can rely on him and know, like, hey, it's late in the game, like, I need you to, like, be able to run outside the pocket more. I need you to make plays with your legs. Like, he's done that before, but not to an extent where it's consistent. And I think I would like to see a quarterback in that 49er system that can make plays off script. And Brock Purdy is so good at being on script all the time. But when that script is not there, or when somebody isn't open, like these wide receivers, like, he cannot go off that script. And that's what you need sometimes, a lot of the times, to win the Super Bowl. And the thing about the Patriots, and people will say about Tom Brady, he never went off script. He never ran the football. Like, yes, but Brady was so intelligent and so smart about defenses and coverages, and where he knew where the ball was going to go. He was great at getting to the line of scrimmage and switching plays and being able to read the defense. Like, that is a game changer. Like, he just did it in a different way, and I just don't see where Brock Purdy is doing that. I feel like if the 49ers had I'm trying to think of a quarterback. Like if they had Justin Fields now, like I get that. Like no, like you shouldn't go after someone in a mid-tier. But if they somehow could get one of these top quarterbacks like Caleb Williams or Drake May, like with these wide receivers, and you see what they did with Brock Purdy, they were going to make a Super Bowl last year if he didn't get hurt. I still believe that. They were a better team than the Eagles last year. If they just have one of these top quarterbacks who is even raw and could be turned into something, the biggest problem that the Niners has, they drafted Trey Lance. And they kind of had to go to Brock Purdy, even though Kyle Shanahan said he was the best quarterback on the roster or whatever. I don't know. I feel like they should go after Kirk Cousins. I felt like they should have went after Tom Brady the year beforehand, or 2 years beforehand when he went to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Like, I just feel like they would get over that hump if they had a quarterback that would be able to take the ball in his hands late in those situations. That's how I feel about it.
I will agree with you on the last part on that. I think they would have won a Super Bowl by now if they had had a guy that is a little bit more seasoned who doesn't make mistakes,
like
stuff like that.
Let's say Josh Allen. If he is on that 49ers roster, do they win that Super Bowl? Now, the problem is with Josh is the interceptions.
Yeah.
But in the playoffs, he does not turn the ball over a lot.
That's true. I will disagree with the going out and drafting a guy right now because the 49ers are a win now team.
Yeah.
They have what they need to win the Super Bowl, and I think that's undoubtedly. Brock Purdy was able to take this team to the Super Bowl. They do not have time to go through a rookie quarterback unless he comes out and does a C.J. Stroud-esque sort of thing. They do not have the time to go through the rookie woes of the interceptions and the turnovers. That's one thing that Brock Purdy was good at. Some games, yes, he had some bad interceptions and had multiple of them, but for the most part, Brock Purdy was exactly what he needed to be in that game manager role. So the only other guy Dak?
Yeah, Dak.
The Cowboys aren't going to get rid of him. I don't think.
So Kirk Cousins. So here's my question. Would you go and sign Kirk Cousins right now if you're the 49ers?
I think it's worth taking a look at for sure.
Yeah.
But I stand on yes, you're saying Brock Purdy didn't lead them to the Super Bowl, but he was the quarterback of a team that made the Super Bowl. So it's like we both agree that game could have gone either way on Sunday. So it's like they were a few plays away from winning that Super Bowl. So I don't know if you even need a guy like that. I just think going out for a Kirk Cousins, unless if he'll take a pay cut, it's not worth signing a guy like that when an $870,000 quarterback just took you to the Super Bowl and was a few plays away from winning you a Super Bowl.
Right.
I think that's the point that I stand on.
Yes, but other than that fumble, he also had an opportunity in overtime to go and score a touchdown, and he didn't. But it wasn't his fault because the ball was taken out of his hands and it was given to McCaffrey. Yeah. But like I said, if you had that quarterback who you can rely on, you can obviously tell Kyle Shanahan did not have any confidence in Brock Purdy in overtime or in that fourth quarter because it was all given to Christian McCaffrey. And if you had the ability, I think the Chiefs wanted him to throw the football. If you had a quarterback that made teams afraid to throw the football, I just feel like it would take them to another level. And to go into a game, it's the same thing that's how I feel with Lamar Jackson, which sucks because I love the guy, but teams want to go in and make him throw 40 times a game. You don't want to make Kirk Cousins go and throw the ball 40 times a game. It's just, I don't know. It's really hard, yeah. But I would probably take a good look at Kirk Cousins to take you over the hump.
And what I will speak to that is that I think the overtime thing, the drive, it's Christian McCaffrey was the only thing that was really working for them. So why would you take it out of your workhorse's hand? Because Christian McCaffrey also led the team in receiving. He had 8 catches for 80 yards. The next closest receiver didn't have over 50. So it's they in that situation specifically, that the pass game is not really working for you. So why would you take the ball out of Christian McCaffrey's hand? So that's that point. But what I will say is I feel like a lot of 49ers are on page with you. They've been there now. I mean, we're not going to count the 2012 one. That's a completely different team, completely different, 12 years ago, whatever. But these past two, I feel like a lot of 49ers fans are on that page of if we just had a quarterback that was a little bit better,
they would have 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah, so I feel like a lot of 49ers fans are actually hopping on board for that. But I also know a lot of fans are in love with Brock Purdy. So it's I don't know. I'm not saying if I was a 49ers fan, I'm not saying I'd be in love with Brock Purdy, but it's do I really want to break the bank on a guy right now when we've just went to the Super Bowl 2 times in the past 5 years.
Yeah,
So
that's also
is
tough.
it worth a Super Bowl for us to give up our future?
Yes.
I guess is kind of the question.
At this point, yes, just because you've been there 3 times, it's like, holy shit, dude. Like they've been bad too. They were at a point after Colin Kaepernick, they were winning 2 or 3 games a year. So like, why not just say screw it? Like we're gonna go out and win this Super Bowl. We're sick of this shit. Like, do what the Rams did. And they basically have done what the Rams done, but they've done it in a different way. They have stacked they stacked homegrown players and then added to it. So they did it the correct way. But now that you have cap space and you don't have that quarterback on the roster, like you can manipulate the cap and put, void years, whatever you got to do to put you over the top and say, this is how we beat Patrick Mahomes. This is how you do it. And the AFC is going to be tough next year because I know that people are going to put Kansas City on top, but like, it's not going to be easy again. Can they? And I hate asking this question. It's like I'm doubting them, but can they do it again? Like, can they go through Joe Burrow's coming back? You're going to have Lamar Jackson, who now has an AFC championship appearance and has more experience in the playoffs, and he's won in the playoffs. So now he's going to have more confidence. You have Josh Allen, who's gone against him like 4 times in the playoffs. Like, is this the time they take the jump? So it's like the 49ers need to jump on the opportunity and say, hey, the Chiefs might not make the Super Bowl again next year. Or if they do, we want to be fully prepared. And I think just going after somebody and doing it, and then go back to Brock Purdy if you want to. Whatever you want to do. But my next question is, and this is kind of off draft with Brock Purdy, but so I want you to rank the 3 people in the Super Bowl who caused this loss for the 49ers. From 3 to 1.
From 3 to 1. Okay. I feel like I'm really when I drafted this up, I didn't put them in a specific order because I wanted to come down to like a game time thing. So I'm gonna say at number 3, I'm putting Steve Wilks, and the reason I'm putting him here, he called a very good game. Like for the most, like looking at the stat sheet afterwards, like Patrick Mahomes had a hell of a game, but they only put up 25 points, and 6 of those came from an overtime touchdown. But what I will say is that the Chiefs ran the same exact play to win the Super Bowl or take the go-ahead touchdown last year in the Super Bowl. It's Andy Reid talked about it in the press conference afterwards. The play is called corn dog, where the outside receiver acts like he's motioning across the field and then immediately stops and they hike the ball and he cuts out to the flat.
Amazing play.
It is, and it's hard to stop. But it's like if you obviously watch film from the previous Super Bowl, it's like when you see that, why is your guys like not more alert? Like nobody was out there. Like I get it comes to switches and everything like that, but like. You got to have a feeling that Andy Reid is going to go back to that same exact play, and you just let him walk in for the touchdown. Like nobody was even close to him. It was an easy pitch and catch. Like it just felt like they were unprepared for that moment. And like before that, called a phenomenal game. I will say that. I'll give him that. But like, how are you not ready for corn dog?
How are you not ready for corn dog?
Yeah. And then number 2, like we said, like he didn't have a bad game, like calling plays and everything like that. But I feel like I got to put Kyle Shanahan here. Like. He's the head coach of the team, and now this is his 3rd time giving up a 10-point lead in the Super Bowl. And it's just you feel like you got to put
that's got to feel bad.
Yeah,
man.
it does. Like, and that's obviously in the moment you're not thinking about that, but like afterwards, it's like, damn, what am I doing wrong to not get a Super Bowl win? Like, and then number 1, I kind of hate it for putting here, but I'm putting Darrell Luter, number 28, who the ball bounced off of on that play.
Yeah,
I get it. Like it's in the heat of the moment, everything, and I'm sure it's loud as fuck, so it's hard to hear the hot call to get away from the ball, but you just can't be in that situation. Like, and in my mind, cost them the game, essentially. I know the kid's a rookie, so hopefully he bounces back, whatever. I don't even know if he plays on defense or anything like that, but like, for me,
I didn't even know his name. I'm not even going to lie
I had to look it up. I just remember, I remember he was number 28.
I was like, who are you talking about?
Yeah.
I had to wait till you had an explanation for that. So for me, at number 3 is Kyle Shanahan. And the reason is just because, first of all, the overtime rules, we'll talk about that in 1 second. Not having your team prepared for the overtime rules, and for your players. First of all, how in the, you know what, we'll get to that in a second. But for him it just felt like like you said, the team was not prepared for looking back on film, looking at all the rules in the rule book, like for the playoffs, like, and then to in the first half, like not being able to adjust early enough to be able to take a further lead. Like, that's why it's not the late game situations. I think he did phenomenal in that. That's why he's at my 3 spot. Number 2 for me is Brock Purdy, and that's just because he did miss some throws. There were some blitzes that he did not be able to pick up, like, for example, like not being able to call them out for the offensive line or be able, it felt like they were in a lot of empty sets, and we were even calling it out, saying like, hey, why are they in the empty? Like, we're screaming, why are you in empty? Like, why, as a quarterback, are you not calling in a running back to be able to help the protection? I feel that falls a lot on the quarterback, and he missed some throws, and it just felt like he was off course the entire game. So Brock Purdy's at my number 2. And then at number 1 in general was the 49ers defense. It just, and you can call it Steve Wilks, you can call it the players, whatever. They just were not disciplined on anything. They were not disciplined on watching Mahomes on the run. They were not disciplined in being physical with the wide receivers. They have smaller, younger wide receivers. They were not being physical enough. They were not stopping Travis Kelce late in the game. Like, it just felt like it was over and over and over the same shit that the Chiefs do every single year. Like, it just felt like the 49ers started to crumble in the playoffs, and then on the biggest stage, and then you take a lead in the overtime, and then you blow it. Like, it might be Steve Wilks if you want to put it as that, but it's a 49ers defense for me in general. So talking about that overtime period, would you have taken the ball first in overtime, or would you have taken it second?
So honestly, I think I'm still taking it first, if I'm gonna be honest.
Wild.
So my thinking here, and I know their thinking was completely different because apparently they just didn't even fucking know about the rule.
Yeah, idiots. Idiots. Real quick, how are we sitting here eating nachos and eating pizza and know the rules more than the players do?
I don't get that. And for them to come out and be like, we just didn't even know. Like, that's just, why would you even say that?
Yeah,
like,
shut the fuck up.
Yeah, maybe that's on Kyle Shanahan for not, because apparently the Chiefs players, they had been talking about this at training camp. Like,
yeah.
And they had those expectations of reaching the Super Bowl and everything. But
you shouldn't have to remind your play. Like, I know and that's just going above and beyond as a coach, but you shouldn't have to tell your play. Like, they should fucking know.
Yeah, no, and that's, I just don't know how you're not speaking on that, like, at least that whole week leading up. Like, but what I would say is that if I was the Chiefs, I would definitely defer the ball. I would take it second because you know what you have in Patrick Mahomes. You know he's got that clutch factor. For the 49ers, though, it was this. They had a tough time moving the ball and at the late of the game. So the thing is for me is you want to go down and you want to score points. You were hoping for a touchdown, only got the field goal. But if you're able to go down and score a touchdown and put that pressure, even more pressure, onto the Kansas City Chiefs, then that's my thinking of why you would want to take the ball first. Like, if I'm the Chiefs, I don't think it really matters. But I think they're going second because they know what they have. They know what they're going to have to do. For the 49ers, I don't think you're going to put that pressure on Brock Purdy to have a game-winning drive like that and have to go down and score a touchdown.
Oh, why not? He's so good.
I never said that he was so good.
So if they had Kirk Cousins, maybe you change your mind.
Maybe. But, and that's, if I'm a 49ers fan, maybe I do want to spend the bag and go get a guy and see if he can take me and win a Super Bowl, since we haven't been able to do that. But I would say it's very situational. But if I have a team with a very good quarterback that I know has been there, done that, I'll take it second. I'll defer it. But for a team like the 49ers, even though this wasn't their reasoning, like, I want to go down, score some points, and put the pressure on the opposing team. I guess that's my thinking about it.
Let me ask you a question. When you go out there and you're doing the coin toss, beginning of the game, are you deferring or receiving?
Deferring.
Why? No matter what, right? No quarterback, doesn't matter. Say you have the Niners, are you deferring or receiving?
At the beginning of the game?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm deferring.
Yeah, so I feel like for me, it's the same situation. That's how I personally see it. It's basically like a whole new ball game again, because you know you're going to get another opportunity. Here's my problem with them deferring in overtime is that they didn't know what the hell was going on. Kyle Shanahan had no idea what was going on. He did not know the rules of overtime and how it worked. Even though they announced it over top, they still decided to receive the ball. I think that Kyle Shanahan probably told his players, hey, let's go receive the ball no matter what. And then they explained the overtime rules, probably would have changed his mind. I think if he went back, he would change his mind again. But I'm deferring no matter what, just because you might as well get it over with. Like with Mahomes, like Mahomes is going to go score. So at that point, like why not give your defense a chance to not put the pressure on them and maybe get a stop? And then hey, if I get the ball and get a field goal, I win the game. No matter what, you don't even need a touchdown. But when you're receiving the ball and you're going against Patrick Mahomes, like at that point how clutch he is. He's going to go get a touchdown. He's not going to tie the game with a field goal. Like, so I think that's my thinking on it is, one, how the fuck do you not know?
So I do have a question, though.
Yeah.
So both teams get an opportunity to score, correct?
Yes.
But if the Chiefs would have ran out of time,
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't. So they would have.
I didn't know that.
See, that was my question. So like that's what like be another game thought, because the Niners took off so much time off that clock, sticking with CMC and everything. There was 4 seconds left in the overtime clock. So I wasn't sure how that worked. So
yeah, if the time ran, I heard Jim Nantz and Tony Romo talking about it. They said that time doesn't matter. They should just take the time clock off at that point. Like there's no purpose in having the time because it just starts exactly where it's at. I'm just super blown away that a 49ers team, like you said, to go out and admit that you didn't know what the fuck was going on. Like, that's low-key a fireable offense for a head coach in a freaking Super Bowl. So, I mean, I wouldn't fire Kyle Shanahan. I'm not even going to ask that question. He'll be back. I think the 49ers, and we'll talk about this now, the 49ers can't get any better. How do they bounce back? Like, how do you see the offseason going for them? Like, how do you recover from a Super Bowl like that? And how do you say, how the hell do we get better? Because they're great at every single position. Except for corner, maybe. They could have some help at corner.
Yeah. So I think it either comes down to where they're at with the quarterback situation. I don't think they go out, and what I think is that I don't think they're going to go out and spend a bag on a quarterback. Brock Purdy took them to a Super Bowl. So I would say the only thing you can do is, because your offense can't hypothetically get much better than the quarterback position right now. I mean, you have the best running back in the game by far, 2 of the best wide receivers, one of the top 3 tight ends in the league.
Did you see what Brandon Ayuk said, or his girlfriend? Somebody posted it on Instagram stories saying there's a lot of speculation that Brandon Ayuk wants out, even though his 5th-year option has been exercised, obviously. Yeah. His wife or girlfriend went on and said, we don't know if we'll be back in the Bay. Like, thank you for everything. And like, he went on there and said, how do you get away from, or like his brother went on there and said, how do you get away from an all-pro receiver? And then Brandon Ayuk said, how do you get away with what's working? So like, I think their number one priority should be keeping Brandon Ayuk, but go ahead.
Yeah, that's kind of tough just to come out and say it right after the Super Bowl. I don't know how
It's a lot of emotions too.
Yeah, no, 100%. So I don't know. The number one thing is like that 49ers defense was pretty banged up. Like the loss of Talanoa Hufanga like early in the season, like that was huge. The kid was balling for him. So obviously get him healthy, get him back. I think the corners were a little bit of a liability for them. So I don't know what corners are out there in free agency. Maybe make a splash play with them because like you said, they have a lot of cap space, really cheap quarterback. But at the same time, it's like I think I looked into it because my sister-in-law asked me like, my brother wanted a 49ers jersey for Christmas, and she asked me like, how long are these guys on contract for? And I went through it, and like they have at least their key guys through this next season.
Yeah.
After that, so it's like I don't think that they will, but is it worth the chance of going out and spending some money and going after a quarterback? Because it's like
after this, they're going to lose a lot of these guys. Because then they got to pay Purdy.
Yeah. So. Like Debo's I think through contract 1 more year. Ayuk's on contract 1 more year. I don't know where Kittle sits. CMC.
Kittle might get cut. There was a lot of speculation about that. So they might. It sucks. Kittle's great, but how great is George Kittle at this point in his career? Like he's great in the playoffs. He didn't show up in the Super Bowl. He's older. Like there's a lot of great tight ends in this draft as well. Maybe they go and get a Brock Bowers, trade up and get Brock Bowers. That shit would be fucking nuts. I don't think he's gonna fall that far, but yeah. I mean, edge rusher too, right? Chase Young is probably gone.
Yeah.
You don't re-sign him. They need someone to rush the passer. Chase Young was basically invisible. He did play well in the Super Bowl.
He did.
Got to
He
give
did.
him his props on that. He did play well in the Super Bowl, but you need someone consistent who can get after the quarterback. You got to have someone alongside Nick Bosa. I don't know if the edge rusher market is very good. We're going to take a look at draft and free agency coming up in the next couple of weeks. So I don't know. I think corner is the biggest. They need a lockdown. They need like an absolute lockdown corner, and they just maybe even linebacker. They might have to sign another linebacker because Dre Greenlaw is going to be out for the entire season now. So they have some spots, but it's like at this point you just run it back, right? And just hope that you get over the hump, hope that the Chiefs don't make the Super Bowl, or hope that you know, some things fall your way correctly this time. And that sucks. Like that's a bad situation to be in because it's not like you can say, hey, we really need, like for Buffalo, like we really need another receiver to complement Stephon Diggs. For the Ravens, we really need a running back to really dominate the run game like Saquon Barkley. Or like even for the Lions, like they need bad defensive help. For the Niners, it's like, I guess we just run that shit back, like, and just hope that it goes right. Like that kind of sucks.
It does, because you can never replicate another season like you just did. Like it's, I guess the Chiefs have done it now, but it's like it also they had to adjust to a lot of things. So you can never go into a season and be like, well, we just made it to the Super Bowl, let's do it again next season. Like
the NFC is going to get better.
It is,
Yeah.
and so yeah, I don't know where to. I guess just try to sign back like Javon Hargrave. I don't know if he signed a 1-year deal, didn't he?
I think he signed multi-year.
Oh, did he?
I think
Okay.
he was on there for 4 years.
Okay,
I could be wrong.
yeah. So I guess just for me, it's shore up that defense. Try to keep Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah, it sucks.
That I don't know. I couldn't tell you
because, like you said, you can't replicate it again. Like it's not that easy. It took them. They had a great team in 2019. They were stacked all over the place there again too. They didn't make it for 4 seasons. So it's like in my opinion, I think they need to go make splash plays, which kind of sucks. But they need just a play like. I think they need to do what the Rams did because, like you said, they're going to lose a lot of guys. They need to go out and just really just sign like basically luxury items at this point, like just to take them over the top like the Rams did. And the Rams have bounced back. Like a lot of people have said like the Rams sold their soul. The Rams are going to be good like from now on, and they figured it out, and other teams can figure it out with the cap too. There's a lot of different things that you can do. And then the last question I have about the 49ers. Is Jawan Jennings the best third down receiver you've ever seen in your life? Because I love Jawan Jennings. We put a bet on Jawan Jennings. One of our friends put $100 on Jawan Jennings to win Super Bowl MVP because I blame myself because I went on there and I said, holy shit, Jawan Jennings is plus 350. At that point, he scored a touchdown and he threw a touchdown. He was inevitably going to be, and I wish he was because we love the guy. Like he's so much freaking fun. But dead ass though, is he the best third down receiver you've ever seen in your life?
In my mind, I can't think of anybody else. It's when it comes to specifically third down, he's up there with a Calvin Johnson for me. Just pure talent wise, when it comes to third down, I literally like last year. I think when they were on their playoff run, like I told my brother, I was like, I don't know who the fuck this guy is, but he catches every single third down for you. And then it stayed the script this year. Like he needs
to be utilized more. I think
so, or maybe that's just his go-to thing. You know, you need a guy to come and hit a 3 in the NBA.
He's a 6 man.
He's
a 6 man. That's what he is. He is. Maybe it's just because it's ironic.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it is, and it's funny. But he really is like one of the best third down, the clutchest third down wide receivers I've ever seen. He never drops the ball on third down.
And I swear that's the only time he touches the ball.
Anytime.
The only time I watch a 49ers game and he catches the ball, it's third down. And he's getting him a first down. Like I don't understand it, but yeah, I'm down to say he's the greatest third down receiver of all time.
And other thoughts about the Super Bowl or other thoughts in the NFL to finish us off? Pause. Rank Taylor Swift's beer chug. 1 to 10. Let's do 1 to 10.
I saw it. I can't. Was it like a full beer?
I think it was like 3/4.
3/4. Okay, I'm gonna give her a 7 on it. I thought it was pretty solid.
I think she kind of stopped, like it took her a little bit. I'll give her like a 6.
Okay.
Now I didn't expect that out of her. Also, the Ice Spice Taylor Swift collab, never would have ever expected that in my entire lifetime. That one was bold.
They were together all the entire game. And then now I'm seeing all this stuff about Ice Spice throwing up demonic signs and stuff. Like,
weird.
I don't know.
Weird stuff.
I don't know what's going on.
Isn't Taylor
there.
Swift like a big country, like Christian? Like,
yeah.
Isn't that her MO?
I mean, every time I see Ice Spice, she's twerking and shit. So like,
it kind of gets old.
It is.
It's
I've seen a lot of people hop on that. Like they're just like, I don't like. Anytime I see her, she's twerking. Like
and she has like no musical talent at all. I just don't understand. People just made her famous just because of her body, which that's this generation at this point. All right, favorite moment in the Super Bowl outside of the game.
So can I go? Like, are we talking like stuff that happened on the TV
Anything.
or just okay? So I'm gonna say it's just like when we were down here. We were all rooting for the 49ers. Obviously, we had a lot of bets on the 49ers and. Like we hit the heads one, which was phenomenal. Didn't have much luck after that, but it was just all the boys down here celebrating. Like we were down here chest bumping, like high fiving and shit. Yeah. So just can't beat that.
Good food, a lot of fun. Yeah, I gotta give it that. My favorite moment outside of the game was Big Dom. I'll pull it up. Big Dom was actually at the game. I don't know if you saw that. I actually figured that out today. He was at the game and gave Andy Reid a huge hug. I thought that was really cool. Don't know why he's so famous now. I get it with the maybe it was because of 49ers. Oh, that's cool. He got his revenge. He got to see the 49ers losing the Super Bowl. That one was pretty good. But yeah, it was Big Dom making an appearance at the Super Bowl after being suspended by the NFL for a little while as well. All right, so let's do it. Way too early predictions for the 2024 NFL season. It can be anything that you think of, MVP, Super Bowl winner, whatever that you think is going to be bold.
So I'm going to start out and I'm saying the MVP of the NFL season next year is going to be C.J. Stroud.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I felt like he was on a pace to hit that. And obviously he had some rookie woes, got injured there a little bit, threw him off a bit. But I think C.J. Stroud is going to be our MVP next season.
Wow. Yeah. Any other bold predictions?
I think Chiefs are going to three-peat. I do.
That's not
unfortunately, I know. It's not bold, but I just, a three-peat hasn't happened in ever, long time.
Yeah, it's never happened.
Yeah. So ever. I guess it's a little bit bold. And then the other one is that I think that this is tough to say. I think that the Colts have a very good shot of winning their division next year.
But C.J. Stroud's going to be the MVP.
Yeah, that doesn't make much sense, does it?
The Colts are going to be good next season. Yeah. You could say a playoff team.
Yeah.
They haven't won their division since 2014.
Really?
Did you see C.J. Stroud go on the Pat McAfee show? He shit on Pat McAfee. He said Pat McAfee was shitting on him because he's a Colts fan. And C.J. Stroud said, you haven't won the division since 2014. And then he was like, there's no way. And then he's like, damn, we're shit. We're bad. My bold predictions is that the MVP is going to be Justin Herbert. Now, here's the reason. So they hired Greg Roman, right? I hate Greg Roman. But what does Greg Roman do well? In the first season, he is always the best coordinator in the NFL. He did it with Colin Kaepernick. He also did it, I think he was with Tyrod Taylor in Buffalo when they made the playoffs that year. And he also did it with Lamar Jackson winning the MVP, being the best team in the league. So I think Justin Herbert is going to be the MVP because they're going to run the ball a lot more and they're going to make some easy throws for Justin, not put it on the shoulders, and they're going to be a good team next season. My Super Bowl champion for next season is going to be the Detroit Lions, which is funny because I shit on them all year, but the Detroit Lions, as long as they build on that defense, they were literally a half away from making the Super Bowl, and they've already beaten the Chiefs before. I don't think they're scared of the Chiefs if they do make it, and I think Dan Campbell and his ball sack size are going to go and win the Super Bowl next season. And then my last one is a team that didn't make the playoffs this season but will this season and possibly make a run in the playoffs is the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons are going to get a top quarterback in this draft. I don't think they're going to trade for Justin Fields. I think they're going to trade up to number 3, and they're going to take Jaden McDaniels. Is that how you say it? Jaden McDaniels? Jaden Daniels. They're going to take Jaden Daniels, and they're going to make a playoff run, and people are going to ask if the Atlanta Falcons are going to win the 2025 or 2026 Super Bowl. So not next season, but the season after. I think a lot of people are going to start asking if Atlanta is going to start to build something crazy. All right, so top three Super Bowl halftime performances in the last 10 years. Go.
All right, number 3, I'm going the Katy Perry in I believe it was 2015.
Yeah.
I don't remember if I was really a fan of that one, but everyone was at least my girlfriend was talking about how crazy it was that she came flying in and the big line and all that shit. Whatever. Number 2, I'm going to have to give it to Riri. I'm saying Rihanna is my number 2. And then number 1, I feel like this one's just kind of easy for me. It was Eminem, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Kendrick Lamar, and Mary J. Blige. Like, I think that's easy for me.
Yeah, for sure. I went the same direction. I went at number 3. I went with The Weeknd. Back in 2021, I thought he was really good. I think that was during the COVID year, so it wasn't a lot of fans in attendance. I could be wrong about that, but I think that was that same season. I thought it was really cool how he started up like up top, like, and then like in those lights and stuff for blinding lights or whatever. It was really cool, really good performance. I feel like if it wasn't during the COVID season, it would have been ranked higher just because of the fans' reaction to it. At number 2, I'm going to go with Rihanna. She was awesome. I was going to put Beyonce there, but you said last 10 years, so I guess 2013 doesn't really count. So, but Rihanna was great. She did it while pregnant, which was super phenomenal. And I feel like if she wasn't pregnant, I would have taken that to a different level. But for her to dance and stuff while she was that, dude.
And if you're the solo performer, like, it takes balls to really put on a good show, and she did it. So.
And nobody knew she was pregnant, which was a cool reveal in itself. And then number 1 was the Eminem, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Kendrick Lamar, and Mary J. Blige. Mary J. Blige. I don't even know who that is. I'm not even going to lie. But that was really cool to have all those rappers in one place, really bring the vibe, especially in LA, which was super cool as well. So that one is my number 1. And once again, thank you guys for joining the Off Script podcast. We're going to have a lot of content. We're not stopping just because the NFL season is over. We have the Combine coming up this month, which is crazy. We have the NFL draft. We have free agency. We have a whole bunch of stuff coming up and a bunch of fun episodes. We're going to try to get guests on here as much as we can to bring some fun to the podcast. But once again, thank you guys for listening to us all season long. We are now at 250 subscribers. So our goal for this year is 1,000. So if you guys can go ahead and just go down below and click the subscribe, like, and notification button so you know every time that we post. And also do us a favor on following us on TikTok. The biggest TikTok that we ever put out came out this week, which was really cool. The score predictions. We were not even close on any of them, but I was the only one that was correct on who would win the game, even though I did not bet on them. I'm stupid as hell. Jake, thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy tax season to join us, and we will see you guys next week.
They know that I'm him, all of this time in the gym. Shots don't never touch the rim. They know that I'm him, got the defense overwhelmed. Do they know highlights of them? They know that I'm him. Don't believe me, check the film. Ayy, any court in any field. Ayy, yeah, I'm Hall of Fame.